So far we have been dealing with the properties of jet transform, and while dealing with the property we came across with very first property is linearity property of jet transform, and this property says that if the jet transform of a signal x1n is x1z and jet transform of another signal x2n is x2z, then the z transform, say we have another complex signal which is formed by the summation of these two signals, are indirectly saying if we can decompose this complex signal in the form of these simple signals whose jet transform is known to us, then the jet transform of this complex signal can easily be evaluated. So suppose if this x3n is made up of say a1 x1n plus a2 x2n, then the z transform of x3n is, say if it is x3z, so naturally this can be derived from the z transform of these individual signals. So it will be a1 x1z plus a2 x2z. This is the significance of your linearity property. So linearity property simplifies many complex problems to solve in simpler form. Then, and we have solved many complex problems using linearity property. Then there is a property which is known as time shift property. What this time shift property says that if the jet transform of the signal xn is xz, then the z transform of the shifted version of the signal. This means if this signal is shifted by k unit or delayed by k unit in time, then the z transform of this signal is related with the z transform of the original signal by what? By this multiplication of this factor only. Z is to the power minus k, if it is multiplied in the z transform of the original signal, then we can very easily obtain the z transform of the shifted version of the signal. Okay. So this is the application of this property. Similarly, we can also write down that if we have suppose the advanced version of the signal and we are asked to evaluate the z transform of this, so naturally it has to be multiplied by this factor, z is to the power plus k, and it will be multiplied in the z transform of the original unshifted signal, okay, to obtain the z transform of the shifted version of the signal. Okay, so this is the time shifting property. Then the third property which has been discussed was the scaling in z domain. Scaling in z domain. Suppose if we have a signal xn whose z transform is xz, then if we have to evaluate the z transform of the signal which is multiplied by alpha to the power n or a to the power n and xn, then its z transform will be the scaled version of the original z transform. Scaled version of the original z transform. This means it will be equal to x a inverse z or x z by a. Okay, getting this thing, and using these two properties we have evaluated many signals for their z transform, and then we came across with the time reversal property. What this time reversal property says that if the z transform of a signal is known to us and it happens to be say xz, this is called xz, then what will be the folded version or the Z transform of the flipped version of the signal? Z transform of the flipped version of the signal. So this happens to be x 1 by z or x z inverse. Okay, x z inverse, and their ROC will also be modified according to these results. Okay, so in this way we have evaluated that if suppose we are knowing the Z transform of the signal un, then we can evaluate the Z transform of the signal u minus n. Okay, this we have evaluated. This we did in our earlier problem. Now we will derive another property. Suppose if the Z transform of the signal xn is known to us and this is called xz, then what will be the Z transform of the signal which is multiplied by n? This means the Z transform of the signal n xn. Okay. Is there any relationship of that Z transform with this earlier Z transform of this signal? We will look into this. So just to derive a relationship for this, we will proceed from the Z transform of a signal xn. Z transform of a signal xn can be written as xz, and this is equal to, the defining relationship says that the both sided Z transform happens to be n equals to minus infinity to infinity xn z is to the power minus n. Okay. Now suppose if we differentiate both the sides, suppose this is say equation number 1, differentiating both the sides of this equation number 1 with respect to z. So this will be equal to d xz over dz, and if you differentiate this equation dxz over dz, and if you differentiate this equation it will be you tell me n equals to minus infinity to infinity xn, and this is equal to minus n. Am I right? Is it minus n? Z is to the power minus n minus 1. Am I right? So this will be equal to minus summation n equals to minus infinity to infinity. This can be written as n xn, and there will be a term corresponding to z is equal z to the power minus 1. This z to the power minus 1 term is taken out, and this is z is to the power minus n. So this can be said as, this is the Z transform of signal nxn. This term is the Z transform of the signal nxn, and this is multiplied with minus z is to the power minus 1. So simply if we do some mathematical manipulation, this means, just I am writing down these things over here or on some other page. So this is equal to d xz over dz is equal to, this is equals to minus 1 over z, and z transform of nxn. This may be written like this. So if you multiply both the sides by z, rather minus z, both the sides by minus z. So this will be equal to minus z dxz by dz, and this will be equal to Z transform of the signal nxn. So if you have to evaluate, if you are asked to evaluate the Z transform of the signal nxn, okay, then this will be the Z transform differentiation of the Z transform of the original signal with respect to Z and multiplied with minus Z. Okay. So this way we will perform the action. So we will perform this task for a signal. Suppose we have a signal given like this, xn is equal to n a n u n, n a n u n. So we will proceed by taking the property, by taking the help of the properties of Z transform. Firstly, we will evaluate the Z transform of un. We will leave all other things, we will evaluate the Z transform of un. And what is the Z transform of un? If you recall, Z transform of the signal un only, it is 1 over 1 minus Z inverse. Okay, 1 over 1 minus Z inverse, or you can also say this to be Z over Z minus 1. Am I right? Z over Z minus 1. Okay. With the ROC, mod Z is greater than 1. Mod Z is greater than 1. This has already been done. Now, suppose if the Z transform of the signal is known to you, then the Z transform of the signal multiplied by an, xn. What is that? This is scaling in Z domain. Okay, A inverse Z. Am I right? If you recall that property that we have solved in as our, I think it is third property. This is Z transform of the signal an xn equal to x A inverse Z. Means we will simply replace every Z by A. Every Z is replaced by Z by A. So simply if we replace, this is simply 1 over 1 by Z. So every Z is replaced by Z by A. Okay. This means it is equal to 1 over 1 minus A Z inverse. Okay, Z is replaced by Z by A. So A Z inverse. Okay. So this is the Z transform of A n u n by using the property. Now we have to evaluate the Z transform of n A n u n. N A n u n. Now you can assume this signal to be n xn, this to be xn. Xn is equal to A n u n. Okay. So now you have to evaluate that differentiation, means to evaluate the Z transform of n a n u n, you have to evaluate the differentiation of say this is x1z, okay, dx1z by dz, and then you have to multiply it by minus z. Okay. So simply minus z has to be multiplied in the dy dz of what? 1 over 1 minus az inverse. Okay. Now if you evaluate the differentiation of this with respect to z, this is numerator over denominator kind of thing, differentiation of numerator over denominator kind of thing. Okay. So if you recall your intermediate mathematics and you solve the whole equation, you will get that this will be equal to a, after multiplication it will be equal to a z is to the power minus 1 over 1 minus a z is to the power minus 1 whole square. Okay. So and ROC comes from here. ROC is the same. ROC is mod z is greater than mod alpha. ROC comes from this relation itself, an xn. So this way you can evaluate the Z transform of this signal n a n u n, n a n u n, and this is the Z transform of this signal. Now suppose if somebody asks you to evaluate the Z transform of n u n using this property, so you will put a to be equal to 1 in this relation, a to be equal to 1, and then you can evaluate the Z transform of the n u n, Z transform of the n u n. in this relation you will put a to be equal to 1. So this is equal to z is to the power minus 1 over 1 minus z inverse whole square. Okay, this is the z transform of n even. N is not seen to you. This is the z transform of n even. Okay. Now I am coming to the one of the most important property, that is convolution of two sequences. Convolution of two sequences and their Z transform. Suppose we have a sequence x1n whose Z transform is x1z, and we have another sequence x2n whose Z transform is x2z. Now suppose we are forming a third sequence which is the result of the convolution of these two sequences. Means we have another sequence x3n which is the result of the convolution of these two sequences x1n and x2n. Now what will be the Z transform of this third signal? This means the Z transform of this x3n will be called x3z. Now we will investigate, is there any relationship of this x3z with the Z transform of these two individual signals? Okay. This x3n is the convolved version of these two signals, and this x3n is giving a Z transform version like x3z. So we will search for any relationship between x3z and x1z and x2z, and we find that this is equal to the product of these two individual Z transforms. This means this is equal to the product of x1z plus x2z. Okay, getting this thing. So we will prove it. So simply for the evaluation of the Z transform of x3n, what we do, we simply evaluate the Z transform of x3n like this. We use the defining relationship summation n equals to minus infinity to infinity x3n z is to the power minus n. And what is x3n? It is the convolution of x1n and x2n. So here we can put the convolution relationship, n equals to minus infinity to infinity. This is x1n convolved with x2n, z is to the power minus n. And what is the relationship for convolution? Summation n equals to minus infinity to infinity and summation k equals to minus infinity to infinity. This can be written like x1k, x2 and minus k. This is the convolution relationship. Okay, z is to the power minus n. Okay, now suppose if we interchange the order of summations in this relation, simply we are interchanging the summation inside to the outside and summation outside to the inside. So it will be equal to summation k equals to minus infinity to infinity, x1k is taken out, and now this is taken inside, summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity. Okay, this is x2 n minus k, z is to the power minus n. And now if you apply the property of shifted version of the signal, Z transform of the shifted version of the signal. So this happens to be Z is to the power minus k, Z is to the power minus k and Z transform of x2n. Okay, and the Z transform of x2n is, if we called it to be x2z, and this is multiplied by Z is to the power minus k, and the remaining thing k equals to minus infinity to infinity x1k. And what is this? This is the Z transform of x1z. This is x1z and this is x2z. Okay, So the Z transform of this signal x3n is x3z, which is equal to the multiplication of these two individual Z transforms. Okay, and this is a very important relationship while solving problem in Z domain. Okay, because convolution in time domain becomes equivalent to multiplication in Z domain. Okay, convolution in time domain becomes equal to the multiplication in Z domain, and many times it is found easier to evaluate the multiplication in Z domain rather than evaluating the convolution in time domain. Now suppose, just to get a glimpse of this property, we will solve a problem. Compute the convolution xn of the signal. We will evaluate the convolution xn of the signal using the convolution property. Say x1n equal to 1 minus 2 and 1. This is one of the signal, and x2n is equal to, this is defined as, this is equal to 1 for n is less or equal to 5 and is okay, for n is less or equal to 5 and greater or equal to 0, and it is 0 elsewhere. So we will compute the convolution of the signal xn by using convolution property. So what the convolution property says, that somehow we evaluate the Z transform of this signal, and we evaluate the Z transform of this signal, and we get these two Z transform multiplied, and we evaluate the inverse Z transform over there. And evaluating inverse Z transform of this signal is very simple. We will simply see the coefficients, and we will see what is there in the power of the Z. Okay, so let us do this. So the Z transform of this signal, this will be the origin. This is 1 Z is to the power 0. This means it is 1. Minus 2 Z is to the power minus 1. And plus Z is to the power minus 2. This is the Z transform of this signal. Okay. This is x1z. This we have evaluated in our very first problem while evaluating Z transform of signals. And what is the Z transform of this signal? This signal is having value 1, ranging from n equal to 0 to 5. N equal to 0 to 5. So its Z transform will be 1 plus Z inverse plus Z to the power minus 2, Z to the power minus 3, Z to the power minus 4, and Z to the power minus 5. Okay. It is having Z transform like this. Now to evaluate the Z transform of the convolved version of the signal, we need to multiply these two signals only, these two polynomials only. Okay. So this is a problem of now polynomial multiplication. And if you perform the polynomial multiplication, I am simply writing down the result because it will take time for the performance of multiplication, and this is an easier task that you can perform very easily. So this is simply these polynomial multiplication, and the result which is found is 1 minus Z to the power minus 1 minus Z to the power minus 6 plus Z to the power minus 7. Okay. So if you simply evaluate this signal, this coefficient you have to retain. Okay, coefficient you have to retain, and the time at which these coefficients are obtained. Okay, so time is ranging from 0. At 0 the coefficient is 1. At minus 1 the coefficient is minus 1. Sorry, at 1 the coefficient is minus 1. At 2 the coefficient is 0. At 3 coefficient is 0. At 4 coefficient is 0. At 5 coefficient is 0. At 6 coefficient is minus 1. At 7 coefficient is 1. Getting my point? So this way you have evaluated your x3n very easily using convolution formula. Okay. Now similarly you can evaluate the correlation of two sequences. This I am leaving for you, and now I will discuss the initial value theorem. Suppose if we write the defining relationship for a causal signal, Z transform of a causal signal, this happens to be n starts from 0 to infinity, because it is a causal signal, xn, z is to the power minus n. And if we expand this relationship, this is x0 plus x1, z is to the power minus 1 plus x2, z is to the power minus 2, and so on. Okay. Now if somebody asks you to evaluate the initial value of this signal, initial value means the very first value, x0. So simply you put limit z tending to infinity both the sides. So if you put limit z tending to infinity, these term becomes equal to 0. Okay, these terms become equal to 0, because this is 1 over z will come in this, and 1 over z will come in this. Okay, and as we put z tending to infinity, it will become, it will be equal to 0. So x0 is obtained by what? Limit z tending to infinity xz. So if z transform of signal is known to us, if z transform of signal is known to us, we can very easily find the very first value of the signal, and this is called the initial value theorem. How we can evaluate the initial value of the signal. Okay. So with the help of this initial value theorem, we can evaluate this. Now I am coming to the concept of pole and zeros. Concept of pole and zero, but before going into that concept, I will just summarize the common signals and their Z transform pair, because this is essential while evaluating the inverse Z transforms. So I will give a glimpse of this. This is all needed. And sooner or later it has to be the part of your memory also, because if you have to solve the problems in for inverse Z transform or in competition, these things has to be in your mind. So the Z transform of delta n, as it was evaluated, it is equal to 1. And what is ROC? The entire Z plane. Every point in the Z plane comes in the ROC. Okay. The Z transform of un, it is 1 over 1 minus Z inverse, you see. And ROC is the exterior to a circle having radius 1. Exterior to a circle having radius 1. Okay. And the signal alpha and un or a and un, here you can use a property also. This is 1 over 1 minus a z inverse. 1 minus a z inverse. And here now the ROC is exterior to a circle having radius z is greater than a. Okay. And if you multiply this by n, once again you have to use the property, and ROC is same. Now this is the differentiation of this signal with respect to z and multiplied by minus z. Getting my point? Now the Z transform of the signal minus alpha to the power n u minus n minus 1. Okay. The limits will range from minus infinity to minus 1. Okay. And you see the Z transform version or the closed form of the Z transform version of this signal and this signal, they are same. but ROC changes. Here the ROC is interior to a circle. Why? Because it is anti-causal signal. It is anti-causal signal, and for anti-causal signal, the region of convergence becomes the interior of a circle. Okay, getting my point? And now you see this is multiplied by n. This signal is now multiplied by n. So just by using the property, you have to simply evaluate the what? The differentiation of this signal, differentiated version of this signal with respect to z, and you have to multiply it by minus z. Okay, you have to multiply it by minus z, and then you will evaluate, you will reach upon this equation, and ROC is same as this one. There is no change in the ROC. Okay, then cos omega 0 n un, it was known to you. Okay, this you have broken using Euler's identity. You simplified this signal using the linearity property, and then you evaluated it using the z transform of alpha n un. Okay, then sin omega 0 n was also evaluated like this, and then if you multiply this signal by alpha n, so just by using this property, if the z transform of un was known to you, you can very easily evaluate the z transform of alpha n un, and z transform of this is known to you, you can very easily evaluate the z transform of alpha and this. Okay, and if somebody asks you to evaluate the z transform of n multiplied by this, then what you need to do? You have to evaluate the differentiation of this with respect to z, and you have to multiply that differentiated version with minus z. Okay, getting my point? So this way you can evaluate the z transform of this signal. Okay, and it will once again be helpful to you while evaluating the inverse z transform. While evaluating the inverse z transform, you will somehow break the complex function in these simplified forms, and then you will write their inverse using this table. Okay, getting my point? So this way you can evaluate the inverse z transform, as you have already evaluated the inverse Laplace transform, inverse Fourier transform, or whatever. Okay, so this is all for now.